What is psychology? So psychology is the scientific study of people, the mind, and behaviour. It is one of the most popular subjects. As you can see, we were sold out again yesterday. I think that's because it has a big impact on all areas of life, right from education and health, right through to the economy and crime. It's a very, very broad discipline, and I'll explain this in a minute. So what do we do as psychologists? Well, we apply scientific methodology to explain human behaviour. So what we do is we formulate theories, we test hypotheses through observation and experiments, and we analyse our reports using statistical techniques that help us to identify important findings. The key things here is science. A psychology degree is a science degree, it's a Bachelor of Science, and psychology is now known as a STEM subject. So that's along with science, technology, engineering, and maths. So psychology is a science, okay, much to some people's disagreement. But an example of research question that a psychologist might study is, does watching food commercials increase energy intake in children? So they'll do an experiment where they'll get children to watch television. They see how much television they watch, what commercials they watch, and for what food. And then they'll watch how much they eat out of a range of different food types. And they wanted to see if food commercials for particular types of food increase energy intake, i.e. fat intake, basically, in children. And funnily enough, no surprise, they found that it did. Okay, which is why some of the research that was done came from this university, and it led to the regulations around child advertising in food. So that's just an example of a research question that a psychologist might look at. So I talked about how psychology is a very broad discipline. So as you can see, psychology is made up of lots of different branches, lots of different disciplines. The main being social, cognitive, developmental. And each of those are interlinked with other branches and other disciplines. So for example, medicine is very linked into clinical psychology and health psychology, where biology and physiology is linked into psychopharmacology and evolutionary psychology. So as you can see, there are lots and lots of different specialisms and lots of different disciplines. Now, universities will have different strengths in each of these different areas. And it's important to know what, when you're trying to decide where you want to go, what that university specialises in. And I'll come to this a bit later on. But just keep in mind all these different things you have to cover as part of your undergraduate degree. So basically lots. So it's important that you pick a course which is accredited by the BPS, because if you want to go on to further study, postgraduate programs will require you to have done an accredited program. So it's important that you check the university that you want to go to is accredited. When you're trying to decide where you want to go, you've got to check the different types of degrees that are offered at the different universities and check that they match up with your requirements and your needs. So the most common, the one that most people do, is a 3-year full-time degree. And this is either a single honours, so that means you just do straight psychology, but it may be that you have a particular idea of a career that you want to go into, or it may be that you can't pick between 2 subjects, in which case you can do a combined degree. So for example, psychology and criminology, psychology and Spanish, psychology and mathematics. If you are going to do a combined degree, make sure that this degree is recognised by the BPS and it was accredited. So here at Liverpool, we do run combined degrees, and they are accredited by the BPS. But just check that the university that you want to go to, their courses are accredited. Also, not all universities will run combined honours degrees. Also, you could have what's called 4-year courses, and it may be that you want to do a year-long placement in a workplace. You may want to test your skills, you may want to increase your CV, or work in an industry. In which case, a sandwich course may be what you want to pick. This is a 4-year course with 1 year in a working industry placement. Here at Liverpool, we don't offer sandwich courses. It may be that you're a mature student. It may be that you're returning to education after a long time, or it may be that you've not been in education at all. In which case, you want to be looking for what's called access courses. Now, here at Liverpool, we do what's called a 2+2 scheme. So you spend 2 years on the Wirral in the college, and then you join our second years here at Liverpool and do year 2 and year 3. So that's why it's a 4-year course. So make sure you pick a university that has a course which best suits your needs. In terms of typical entry requirements, usually at universities are asking for 2 A's and a B, or an A and 2 B's. But universities are very specific about what they require. So for example, here at Liverpool, we don't require a psychology A-level, and we take any A-level at all. But other universities may require a science, they may require psychology. So it's important that you check out the university where you want to go to, what their specific entry requirements are. They may also require specific GCSE maths grades. So here at Liverpool, it's C or above, but you need to check that it isn't higher. In terms of programme structure, most university degrees run the same course structure in year 1 and year 2. And that's because you've got to cover particular things to be accredited by the BPS. In year 1, you'll probably do around 8 modules. This is Liverpool's structure, so it may differ for different universities, but I'm just going to describe the Liverpool one for you. So year 1, you take 8 compulsory modules, and that's worth 120 points. These are credit accumulation and transfer schemes. That means you've got to pass one level before you move on to the next. Year 2, again, 8 compulsory modules worth 120 points. And in year 3, you do 7 modules. And that's because one of the modules, your dissertation, your research project, is double weighted. Again, 120 points. So this is what happens in year 1 at Liverpool. You do Introduction to Psychology, which is social and abnormal psychology. You'd study developmental personality intelligence. You'd recognise these if you're doing A-level psychology. These are the different branches of psychology that we've got to cover. Cognitive, biological, statistics and methods. This is a big part of doing a science degree. But there is lots of assistance and help that you can get if this is something that you struggle with. Also, we teach you transferable skills. So this is in your tutorials. You do essay writing, report writing, presentation skills. Here at Liverpool, we do recognise the increasing global world that we live in. So we study, the first years study cross-cultural psychology. And also, increasingly, employability is a real issue. So we have a whole module here at Liverpool around employability skills, increasing your CV, and learning about organisational psychology. Now, first year doesn't count towards your degree classification. That means because it can take students a while to get used to the standard that's expected, and sometimes students take a while to settle into a new place. So first year doesn't count. However, I would say it's important that you achieve good grades throughout. So I run a postgraduate program, and I will look at first year grades. So if someone gets first class degree in their second and third year, but they've bummed their first year, I won't take them. So although it doesn't count towards your degree classification, some employers and some PGT programs will require you to send in your transcript, and that means all your marks are looked at. So it's important you do your best and try your hardest from day 1. Year 2 is worth 30% of your degree classification, and again you're concentrating on the main areas of psychology. Again, most universities, year 1 and year 2, are very similar because we have to cover the main branches in order to be accredited. So this is perception and memory, behavioural neuroscience, developmental, language and thought, and methods and statistics again. All the way through your degree, methods and statistics is the backbone of what we study. At Liverpool, we also offer, in between year 1 and year 2, a field placement. And this is a 2-week placement in a workplace where you have to apply the psychology knowledge that you've learnt in year 1 in an organisation such as the NHS, schools, the police, for example. This is an important aspect of our course that we run here at Liverpool, and it is something that students find very rewarding. Year 3 is worth the bulk of your classification degree. That's 70% of your degree is your third year. And this is where universities come into their own. The first 2 years, everyone has to cover those core branches. In year 3, this is where people get to pick options. The key here is to pick a university that offers options, that does research specialisms in something that you're interested in. If they have a research theme or a research strength in a particular discipline, they will often offer it as a third-year module. There's no point going to a university that doesn't offer what you want to do. So you take 6 self-selected psychology modules, 3 in an applied modules, and 3 fundamental. Fundamental is more theoretical. This is combined with your research project, which is an empirical piece of work which takes place over 2 semesters, so that's a year, and you're working one-on-one with a member of research staff. And those people that come to our open days, they'll see I have a board with all the papers that have been published by undergraduate students, as part of their research studies. So some of the work that you do in your third year could potentially go on to be published. You need to pass your research project in order to get the honours bit of your degree. If you fail your third year project, you just get a BSc. You wouldn't get your BSc with honours. So these are examples of the modules that we offer here at Liverpool. So they have to pick 3 applied and 3 fundamental. Very common, very popular ones are the forensic modules and the appetite and obesity modules. They tend to be the most common. But people pick 3 from each. So for example, this is where I said the research strengths of the university are illustrated in the modules that they offer. So if you said, I really, really want to be a sports psychologist, I would say, don't come to Liverpool. We don't offer sports psychology as a module. We don't have it as a research strength. So as I did when I was young, when I was looking at where I could study forensic psychology, offender profiling, I went to the place that was their research strength. Because you know that they're going to offer modules in it. You know that you're going to be able to work with the staff and you're going to potentially be able to do research projects with them. So when you're trying to decide where you want to go, have a look at their university web pages and have a look at the research strengths of that department. And that will help you pick between universities. Because you've got to go somewhere where they're doing a branch or a specialism that interests you. Because as I've shown, psychology is very, very broad. And there may be some things that you love, and there may be some things that you don't love as much. So for me, it was very much around, I like the social side of things, social psychology, but the cognitive and the brain fit just confused me, and I didn't like that one as much. So it's important you pick a place which matches your strengths and your interests. In terms of teaching and assessments, along here at Liverpool and also throughout the country, universities now use a range of teaching methods. So we have these large-scale lectures like we're having now, but we recognise that this only imparts a certain amount of knowledge. So what we do is we have smaller seminars, we run tutorials for each module, you also have personal tutor groups, you have practical sessions, and that's where you learn your computers and your statistics, so you're able to get more one-on-one attention for stuff that you may find difficult. You'll have worksheets and workbooks to complete, and also Vital, which is our online Blackboard tool. Some modules, especially in third year, will use online continuous assessments and online discussion boards as part of their module. In terms of assessment, we try to use a range of assessment methods, some of them linking into employability skills. So for example, end of semester exams, you'd have large essay answers to do, short answers, and also multiple choice. And the coursework throughout the semester may include essays, you might have to do a presentation, you have to do a practical report in your first and second year, you may have to do group work or produce a poster, you may do continuous assessment through online facilities, and also finally your big empirical research project that you have to write up in your third year. So a range of different assessments and a range of teaching methods. In terms of employability skills, psychology is known as a good base degree. And by that I mean we don't just teach discipline-specific knowledge and skills. So when you finish an undergraduate degree in psychology, you will come out with specialist knowledge in psychology. You'll also have what's called psychological literacy. And by that we mean you're able to interpret and read key large-scale issues such as global citizenship, or you will read the world with a psychology frame of mind, a psychology way of thinking, a psychology way of analysing a problem. But not just that, you also have a lot of transferable skills, general skills which can be applied to any area, listed here, problem solving, critical thinking, ability to work in teams, etc. And this shows that only 20% of students actually go on to a career in psychology after doing a psychology undergraduate degree. And that's because it has these base generic transferable skills that are recognised by employers that can be applied to any area. So the Complete University Guide said that 6 months after graduation, 16% of psychology students were in further study. It's higher here at Liverpool. I think 25 to 30% of our students go on to further study. 27% employed in a graduate job, 33% in a non-graduate job, and 9% unemployed. The average starting salary of a graduate job is about 18,000 and a non-graduate job about 14,000. So you finish your undergraduate degree, and that is a good base degree. So it's very general. If you want to be a professional psychologist, so you might want to be a sports psychologist, a forensic psychologist, a clinical psychologist, it's going to take you a minimum of 2 to 3 years extra training and education. Further details for this can be found on the BPS website. If you're interested in one of those professional bodies, and one of them, they'll tell you the career path that you've got to take in order to become an occupational psychologist, an educational psychologist, for example. It's at postgraduate level that you specialise. So you do a good base undergraduate degree and specialise in doing an accredited postgraduate programme. As I've said, different universities have different strengths, so they will offer different postgraduate programmes. If you know that there's a particular postgraduate programme that you want to do, then why not go to that university to do your undergraduate degree? If you're a student, your face is known, you can work with those members of staff, and it'll increase your chances of getting on. Because the rate of applications to admissions is very, very difficult. So around 20% of applicants are successful. So I have about 125, 130 applicants for my master's course, and I can only take 25. It's the same for clinical. Very, very competitive. So anything that you can do to increase your chances, do it. So if you know you definitely want to do something, go there to do your undergraduate degree. It'll also help you decide actually if you want to do it or not, because you may study it at undergraduate level and think, actually no, this isn't for me, I want to do something completely different. Setting yourself apart, this is the key thing. Nowadays we have, as you can see, very, very popular subject. We have lots of graduates coming out now, most of them with 2-1s and firsts. You need to make sure that you stand out from the crowd. What makes you different than all these other people that are coming out? And then what advice I give to you is to think about this from day one. It will make it much easier than at the end. There's no point getting to the end of year 3 when you're starting to apply for jobs or for postgraduate programs and thinking, I better boost my CV now. It's going to be very, very difficult to do. But if you do it from day one and think about picking up little bits of things that will increase your CV, make you stand out, it'll make things much easier. For example, joining the BPS as a student member, being a student rep, being members of the athletic teams, doing internships, placements, volunteer work, anything that's going to make your CV that stronger, so that when you've finished, people just don't say, you've got your degree, so what? You've got to show that you stand out from everybody else. And if you do that from day one, it will make things a lot easier for you. So that would be my advice to people. Think about it early on.